Let's pick up where we left off, which is part 3 of our ongoing series, the future-proof skills that you need. Picking up on point number 7, inspiring and motivating others. Similar to what we talked about in the point on artistic expression, your ability to get other people to move themselves to action, or if you want to call yourself moving them to action, this will always be in demand. Why? Because most human beings are by nature lazy and will not move out of that state of inertia unless moved by some outside force. And that outside force can be another person who inspires and compels action from them. Moving another person to action does not necessarily mean you physically being in a space with them. It can mean your ability to make a YouTube video that's motivational, your ability to have a show that comes out every day that gets them locked in and focused on the day ahead, your ability to write a book that changes the way that they think about things, your course, your coaching program, whatever it is, anything that you can do that will inspire and motivate other people to actually change in any way, shape, or form makes you future-proof, because it's going to be hard to get technology to do that. Why? Because people are generally inspired and motivated by things that they hear or see or experience through other people. What inspires and motivates us is usually something another person said, something another person did, or something we experienced through another person, whether it's just their physical energy, whether it's the way that they talk, whether it's something they say specifically to us or about us, or it's just something that they did and we know about it. Like an athlete that you watch on TV. You never met them, but watching them do what they do may motivate and inspire you to go work harder at what you do, even if it's not the same thing. It's going to be very hard for a computer to replicate that. It's going to be hard for some technology to replicate that with a person who's not really a real person. Now, again, 700 years from now, there may be people who can do exactly that, and quote unquote people, fake AI made people that other people will have affinity for, the same way that people, some of you listening to this, may love Taylor Swift or Beyonce or LeBron James today. There could be an AI person that you know is an AI person, and you're a fan of them the same way that someone is a fan of LeBron or Michael Jordan or Ronaldo to this today. I do believe that will happen in the future. I don't think it will happen while you and I are still alive, as I said. So inspiring and motivating others is still a human-based skill. It is still a soft skill, and is a very in-demand soft skill. Any of you who have this ability, there's opportunity for you. If you have this ability, there is opportunity for you. Personal trainers must inspire and motivate their clients to actually come to the fucking gym, because if they come to the gym on their own, they probably wouldn't need a personal trainer. Inspire and motivate them to not eat junk food when they get out of the gym. That inspiring and motivating is not the whole job, but it's a good part of the job. If you are a person who has the ability to contextualize your inspiration and motivation in such a way that people in certain jobs or certain industries can benefit from it, or at least get a little bit of a pick me up from it, then you have an opportunity as I guess what people call a motivational speaker. Just yesterday, from the day that I'm recording this, I was at a sales event for a sales company offering what they probably would categorize as a motivational speech. I don't make the speech to be motivational, but motivation is part of the benefits that they get from the speech. I want to give you something that you can take with you that will last longer than motivation, because motivation comes and goes. It can go away within, let's say, 24 to 48 hours. But is that motivation worth it, even if it is fleeting? Yes, it is. And this is the reason why motivational speaking is an entire industry, and there are people who spend their entire lives motivational speaking and getting paid to do so. Now, there's a business out there for this. That's the reason why it's a future-proof skill, because it's going to be really hard for a computer to replicate that. Because a computer can't get on the stage and tell you the story of how it went through 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. A computer cannot get on the stage and tell you that it struggled to become successful itself, and that's why it has a qualification to motivate you to be successful now. Because if I can do it, you can do it. See, a computer can't say that to you, because you can't relate to a computer's background. You can't relate to a computer's origin story, but you can relate to the background or the origin story of an actual person. So this inspiring and motivating others is a big deal. This is always going to be something that's in demand, again, at least in the time that you and I are alive. Now, again, many hundred years from now, maybe people will go for an AI robot or something, because I believe that the underlying firmware of human beings' minds is being altered these days with the way that we use these devices. Because maybe 15 years ago, had you asked me the same question, I would say, well, humans will always be human. No matter what changes technologically, humans will always be human, and you're not going to change just the base desires of human beings. One of the base desires human beings have is to have some type of connection to another human outside of themselves. and that person may motivate and inspire them. But over the last 15 years, the way that we have allowed our brains to be rewired by the technology that we engage with nearly 24 hours a day, I believe that human beings are fundamentally changing when it comes to the wiring of our brains. And that's why I think it is inevitable that in the future, there'll be some AI basketball player who you look at the same way that, not you, but your great, great, great grandkids look at the same way that you or I might look at some great athlete playing today, Serena Williams or Tiger Woods or LeBron James. That will happen. And that's because of the way that we engage with these devices. They've been engineered to have us engage with this way, and that's why it's going to happen. But as of today, human beings usually want to connect with another person on some way. Even if it's a person we never actually meet, we can still be inspired by them. Again, this is the reason why we have technology, we have media. You can be inspired by a person and never meet them. As technology encroaches, people are going to be enticed to be even more mentally lazy than they already are. I've told you that already, which means if you have the ability to move people out of this laziness, out of this state of inertia, you become even more valuable than you were before. You are already valuable if you can move yourself to action. You become even more valuable when you can move other people to action. If you can move yourself, that's one person. If you can move another person, that's two. But if you can stand in front of an audience of people and move 300 or 3,000 or 10,000 all at the same time, well, that's even more valuable. Now you're multiplying the results because you're moving a whole bunch of people at once. Instead of just moving you, how about move everybody else too? So if you have this ability and you can articulate it, I suggest you look into the career opportunities that are available to you because there are a bunch. Don't forget, your ability to inspire and motivate yourself, as I just said, is already valuable. If you can just do what you're supposed to do, that's valuable on its own. And most people don't have that ability. So if you can move yourself to action, you can figure out how to take the same things you say to yourself and communicate them to others, you become even more valuable. Your value multiplies because of that. Moving on, point number 8. Today we are talking about your future-proof skills. The future-proof skills you need. This is part 3 of what will be a 4-part series. Number 8 is learning from experience. Everyone who's listening to this has some experiences in your life. The question is not if you have them. The question is, are you learning from them? How many times have you made the same mistake over and over again? How many times have you made the same mistake more than once and said to yourself, I made this mistake before, why am I making this mistake again? The most successful people are successful not because they don't make any mistakes. It's because they don't repeat their mistakes. And when they make a mistake, they learn from it, they make their necessary adjustments, and in learning from that failure, they don't come back to the same spot over and over and over again. Many human beings have to go through the same challenges over and over again because we are not learning properly from, or we did not learn properly from the last time that this same thing happened. Your ability to learn from your experiences and not repeat your mistakes will not only allow you to compress your time frames, in other words, to achieve your goals faster and move on to the next things quicker, it also it will stop you from having to go through that same experience more than once, especially one that you don't want to be in. All right, so you avoid a time wasting activity like getting the same lesson more than once, and you're able to condense time and buy yourself time by achieving certain outcomes faster than you maybe have expected or that you have in the past experienced. So in school, for example, a student who didn't learn enough in a grade, they may be deemed to have to repeat that grade. Right? When I was in elementary school, there were many students in my elementary school who were notorious for having been, as we called it, left back. So when all the class moved on from second grade to third grade, they had to go and repeat the second grade because they hadn't learned well enough, or they hadn't demonstrated that they had learned well enough what had been taught to them in the previous year as a second grader. And we're talking about the American educational system is much more about the indoctrination, not the learning or education, as many people like to say. It's really, they didn't prove that they were good at regurgitating the indoctrination that had allegedly been fed to them. Which leads to a whole other conversation about the education system that we will have. We've had it already. We will have it again in the future, but not today. But the most successful people, again, they learn from their mistakes. Not they don't make mistakes. They learn from their own mistakes so they don't repeat them. And they double dip by learning from the mistakes that other people have made so that they don't even have to make the mistakes themselves. As the saying goes, you don't have enough time to make every mistake on your own. So you should learn from the mistakes of others so that you don't even have to go down the road that they went down to get the same lesson that they got. So again, condensing time frames, moving quicker from one thing to the next rather than having to go through the same learning experience. Again, a student who does this, they have to take the grade all over again. So they basically lose a whole year. And students who are quick to learn may be allowed to skip the next grade and they can move forward that much faster. I have a sister, for example, who's a year older than me. She proved in elementary school that she was so good and so adept at learning the information, probably combined with a good amount of emotional maturity, that her teachers suggested that she skip a grade and move on to the next grade. I don't remember which grade she skipped. I think she might have skipped the second grade and went to the third grade. So even though she's only a year older than me, she ended up 2 years ahead of me in school because I didn't skip any grades. I didn't get left back, but I didn't skip. She skipped a grade. And this is what happens when you prove that you can learn pretty quickly. Now, again, that leads to a whole other conversation about the educational system that we're not going to have here today. But what I am telling you is a true story. Point number 9. Today's topic, once again, is part 3 of our ongoing series, 4-part series on the future-proof skills that you need. Number 9, resilience. Now, this point is not so much about your race against technology and the changes and how people operate. This is just a personal asset that will always be valuable. This is not really about technology. This is a personal asset that resilience is always going to be a valuable skill within human beings. Why? One reason is the law of contrast. Most people have no resilience. Another word you can use for resilience can be grit, perseverance, persistence, mental toughness that we talk about here at the opening of every single show. Just your willingness to withstand and your ability to withstand challenging circumstances, even when it seems like nothing is working and nothing is going to work, and no matter what you try, nothing is changing. Can you stay in the game? All right. Can you keep trying? Can you keep grinding? Can you keep looking for different ways to make it happen, even though every way that you have tried up to this point to make it happen has failed to make it happen? Can you keep showing up? That's resilience. Most people, ladies and gentlemen, have no resilience whatsoever. Most people are so mentally weak that you can defeat them by simply showing up consistently, even if you have no results to show from showing up. And this is an important point. I'm going to say what I just said again and go further into it. You can defeat most people by simply continuing to show up, even though you have no results to show from your showing up. Now, why is this? First of all, most people, when they show up for anything consistently, even for a short period of time, if they don't get tangible results in a short period of time, quickly, whatever most people consider to be quick, they quit. They just stop showing up. Okay, I haven't gotten any results from this. I'm just going to quit. I might as well give up on this because obviously it's not doing anything for me. This is how most people think. This is how most people operate. This is why your competition is so weak. You could easily beat them if you just mastered a few simple disciplines. Showing up consistently is a simple discipline. Just showing up. Most people just don't show up. It's just a very simple thing. People just don't show up. Can you just be in this place at this time, ready to do this every single day or every other day or 3 days a week, whatever the mandate is? Can you just do that? Most people can't do it. It's really interesting. And I've told you this before, that I've been going to gyms forever. As long as I can remember, I've had a membership to 1 or 2 gyms or access to some gyms. And I'll go to the gym that I go to these days. Some people go there for boxing or some form of fighting, kickboxing, MMA. Then other people go there just for the workouts because they have any kind of equipment. So there's CrossFit in there. There's people just go to lift weights, work on their bodies, cardio, take classes, and then the fighting stuff. And there's a handful of people who I see at that gym all the time. There's a handful of people, maybe about, I'll say somewhere between 4 and 7 people that I see on a consistent basis in the gym. I do not know them. I don't shake their hands. I don't know their names. They don't know my name, but they know my face and I know theirs. Why? Because I'm always there and they're always there at the same times, same days. Only about 4 to 7 people. Now, how many members does this gym have overall? Probably a couple thousand. I would guess probably a couple thousand. Now, how many of them actually use the facility? Not many. I don't know if all of you know this, but most fitness facilities in America that they have a consistent business. And when I say consistent business, I don't mean people using the gym. I mean people paying their memberships. If everyone who paid for their membership actually used the facility on a consistent basis, the facility cannot continue to operate in its current capacity because the capacity of the facility is not big enough to hold the number of people who are actually paying for memberships. Does everyone understand what I just said? That if you started a gym, let's say you opened a gym, me and you opened a gym together somewhere in the United States. Let's say Miami, which is the best city. Or why would you open it anywhere else? Let's say we open a gym down here in Miami, and we got a whole bunch of people to sign up, and then everybody who actually is paying for the membership on a monthly basis actually came to the gym. 3 or 4, let's just say 4 days a week. Everybody who paid came to the gym 4 days a week. We would be getting shut down by the fire marshal on a consistent basis because the fire marshal would say, Dre and you, whatever your name is, you have too many people in this facility at once. This is a fire code violation. You cannot have this many people in the facility at once. And we would have to figure something out. We either have to expand our facility or start rationing out when people can come to the gym. Because if everybody who was paying us actually used the facility that they're paying for, we could not hold all those people at the same time. I'm telling you all that to say this. People sign up for stuff and they don't do it. People tell themselves they're going to do something and they do not do it. People show up a little bit, but they can't show up consistently. So your ability to just simply show up, especially when things are not working, gives you an opportunity. Your ability to show up when things are working gives you an opportunity. I've seen people having things working in their favor and they still couldn't show up. Many times. I remember when I was in college, for example, if you've been following my show for a while, you've heard me tell the story of how I got recruited to play college basketball at a school called Penn State Altoona. The coach who recruited me, he got replaced by a new coach in between my sophomore and junior years. My junior year, I'm on the team with this new coach. And I remember this new coach, he only kept 3 incumbent players from the previous season. We had about 6 guys eligible to return to the team. He only kept 3 of us. No, it was more than 6. It's probably 7 or 8 of us, maybe 9 guys who could have been on the team the next year from the previous regime, but only 3 of us made it to the new regime. And once we got into the new regime, the coach made it clear pretty early that 2 of the 3 of us he didn't like. I was one of the 2 that he didn't really like. He wasn't really feeling us. He wanted to get us off the team. But there was one guy who he actually liked. And this guy was a year behind me. So I was a junior. This guy was a sophomore. And I never thought much of this guy's game, but the coach loved this guy. He loved that this guy could play. He loved this guy's ability to play, or he thought he could play. And I remember one time we had a team meeting amongst the guys who had made the basketball team. And the coach said to this player who had been my teammate the previous year, he was my teammate now this year. I'm a junior, he's a senior. He says to this player, I don't think there's any player at our level of college basketball who can guard you. You're pretty much unstoppable. Just talking him up, just basically making him sound like a superstar in front of the rest of the team. Just talking this guy up, like how good he is, how good he could be. And the coach sounded like, if you listen to that soundbite, you would think that the coach was thinking about building the entire program around this guy. And he was only a sophomore. So it was damn sure possible it could happen. And so this player, I'm telling you all that to say, this teammate of mine, he had everything going for him as far as the coach liking him and all of that. And based on the team that we had at that time, amongst our guards, because the coach came in and just told you he replaced a whole bunch of incumbent players and he brought in all these freshmen. And most of these freshmen who he brought on the team, they couldn't play. It's not that they would be bad forever, but at that point, many of them were not ready to play. Had we had our normal basketball team, those guys, if they were on the team, they'd be sitting on the bench. They wouldn't be playing. But they were forced into playing because we didn't have anybody else. And this guy was a sophomore. He was better than them. He was better than most of the freshman guards that we had. So this guy had a golden opportunity to be the man on our college basketball team. I'm telling you all that part just to get to this. He had a golden opportunity to be the man on the basketball team. You know what this guy did? Can you guess what he did? He quit. He quit the basketball team. Now, again, it'd be one thing. Now, there were 3 of us who lasted from the previous regime. One guy, he was a guard and he was a senior. And the coach immediately showed that he did not like this guy and he basically ran that guy off the team. And even though that guy wasn't that much of that guy had some personal habits that I did not like. He had some tendencies that I really didn't like on a personal level. But if you ask me objectively, how did he end up off the basketball team? I would have to be honest and say the coach ran him off the team. He wanted to play. The coach ran him off the team. So I understand why he stopped playing. I was a junior and the coach ran me off the team. And if you saw what happened with me, you would understand. This other guy was a sophomore. It was only 3 of us. He was the third one. The coach liked him. He quit. I'm telling you all that to say this is what I mean. Resilience. Most people aren't resilient even when things are working, let alone when things are not working. So this will always be an opportunity. All right. There's no human being on the planet whose life always goes exactly as expected or exactly as we want it to go. Things happen that we didn't want to happen. People let us down. Unwanted circumstances occur. This happens to everybody. No one is immune to this. These are unavoidable. Your ability to stay calm, stick to the program, and continue doing what needs to be done, especially when it comes to overcoming obstacles, is critical to your future success. And again, this ability will never be not needed, and this ability will never go out of style. Resilience. And you just keep showing up, even if it's not great for you. Let's recap. part 3 of our ongoing 4-part series, The Future Proof Skills That You Need. Number 7, inspiring and motivating other people. This will always be useful simply because human beings tend to draw inspiration and motivation from other human beings, not from computers or software code. So no matter how good software gets at doing this, it still has to be sourced from a human. These days, you can even go online and you can hear some motivational speech from a person whose name you know, but they just use that person's voice to say stuff that they didn't ever actually really say. So you can take some uh, motivational speaker from the 1960s who died in 1994, and you can have them talking in the video in 2025, and they're talking about things like smartphones. And like, this person died in 1994. We didn't have smartphones. How are they mentioning smartphones? We have the technology to do that these days. So even then, they're sourcing it. The reason they can be inspirational and motivational to people is because of the name that they're using, not just because of the message itself. So if it's just the message itself, then everybody would be motivational. Point number 8, excuse me, learning from experience. All right. We don't have enough time to learn from all of our making every mistake ourselves. We want to learn from other people's experiences, and we want to learn from ours. And when we do make a mistake, we don't want to repeat the same one. So that's such that we have to go through the same process over and over again, like repeating a grade in elementary school. And number 9, resilience. Can you just stick to the program and keep showing up even when things are not working in your favor? Can you keep showing up even when things are working in your favor? I gave you an example of people having things working in their favor and they still quit. Most people don't stick to anything even when things are working for them. So can you just stick to stuff? All right, that is a future-proof skill. All that said, tomorrow we'll be getting into part 4 of our, that'll be the last part of this series, which is the future-proof skills that you, I, and everybody needs. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. We have a program called 30 Days of Discipline. We got another one called Bulletproof Mindset. These programs are all about exactly what they said, building a bulletproof mentality, having the discipline to keep showing up and staying resilient. On top of having access to those programs, you can have access to me as your direct coach all through the process to help you apply these things in your life and in your specific situation. That's all at WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all